clothes. I have been in a secret marriage with a big shot for 3 months. He is aloof and distant, just like a monk who has been in meditation for 1,000 years. Despite my several attempts at seduction, he remains unmoved. I can't take it anymore and want a divorce. My best friend asks me why. After having a few drinks, I boast without thinking, he's no good. My best friend's eyes widen in disbelief and says, "Really?" I continue, "Yes. I want to be with him forever. But he is neither long-lasting nor good. It's completely a fraud." At this moment, a deep and magnetic voice rings out, "NPH." I am stunned. Turning around, I see William sitting behind me. I instantly come to my senses, and most of my drunkenness is gone. That night, when I go home, he bathes me. Nothing else happens. I privately complain to my best friend, "Look, which man can resist the temptation of his wife's wet body? He's just no good." Unexpectedly, I send it to the wrong person. Later, he ties my hands to the head of the bed with a gift ribbon. Smiling cruelly, "Let's try. See if it's long or not. And if it lasts long or not." I cry, "Woo woo. Hubby. I'm wrong. You are extremely long, and last extremely long. I am in a secret marriage with a big shot. William is a highly sought-after young talent in Minghu City. Backed by the Xu family, he has made a name for himself with his own abilities. I thought that a small family like ours would never have any intersection with him. But half a year ago, our family was in a debt crisis. Thanks to the friendship between the Chen family and the Xu family in their humble days. Not only did we successfully tide over the difficulties, but also I was matched with him. We had a blind date on that day. Got the marriage certificate the next morning. In the afternoon, he flew abroad for business. The efficiency is quite high. However, 3 months into marriage, we meet less often than the security guard at the gate. Our conversations can be read on one page. See, "I am William. Cutie, hubby. When will you be back? Cute. JPGZ, it will be very late. Don't wait up for me. You go to sleep first. Cutie, okay. Hubby. Kiss. JPG cutie, hubby. Have you eaten? Cute. JPGZ, yes. Even customer service on Taobao flatters more than me. I is more enthusiastic than him. At least I will call me baby. Not only that, we didn't even have a wedding. Well, that's fine. Most importantly, he is too serious. So serious that he is like a monk who has been in meditation for thousands of years. On the first night back home, I hold a cup of hot milk, wearing a small suspender top with few pieces of fabric and swaying my hips as I go to the study to find him. "Hubby, don't work so hard. Go to bed early." I deliberately get very close to him, revealing a charming view on my chest. William is behind the desk and just glances at me coldly. "Cherry." "Yes. Hubby." I look at him with my hands cupping my face. "It's windy at night. Go back to the room and put on some clothes. It's cold," he says. My eager smile freezes on my face, and I force out a response through clenched teeth. "Okay. Hubby. Damn it. I am not reconciled. I want a happy scratch that. Sexual life. I want a 188 cm handsome guy to turn into a fierce little tiger. I don't want to have no nightlife at such a young age. So I keep trying. After a long wait, on the second night when he comes home early, I personally make a big meal of oysters. The candlelight flickers. The atmosphere is ambiguous, coupled with a tight cheongsam with a slit up to the armpit. I am almost seducing him on the spot. But he, after eating quietly and elegantly, he goes to the study. He doesn't even give me a glance. A newlywed wife makes a big meal of oysters for her husband. But the husband is indifferent and works in the study all night. Does this sound reasonable? He is a virile man. Even if he doesn't see his wife's invitation, doesn't he understand the implication of oysters? I sulkily toss and turn on the big bed. In the latter half of the night, I sit up abruptly from the bed. Finally, my mind starts working. Not good. This situation means either he is no good, or he is gay. Either way, it means I have been cheated into marriage. Damn. I have been cheated into marriage. I can't believe what is said in the news actually happens to me. I sadly lie down again and can't sleep anymore. But a day later, I keep thinking about William's face. Damn that man. He is extremely handsome. I can't have him but can't let go. After struggling for half a month, I am still not giving up. I remember the methods of identifying gays and men on the internet. Look at social media. Look at outfits. Look at walking postures. Look at noses. Look at fingers. Look at eyes. I compare one by one. But William doesn't post on Moments and doesn't wear white socks. Moreover, he has a high nose bridge, noble eyebrows and eyes, and is clean and cold. None of these descriptions apply to him. The internet says that a man with his looks is bound to have many children and blessings. But the internet also says that there will be exceptions. For example, a high nose bridge doesn't necessarily mean he is big. Long fingers don't necessarily mean he is long. And bright eyes don't necessarily mean he lasts long. I keep wavering between the two situations and observe for a long time. I deliberately stare at his crotch when we pass by each other. I pretend to pass by the door casually when he is taking a bath. Like a pervert. After comprehensive consideration, I come to a desperate conclusion. Although he is not gay. But he is no good. He is that exception. He is that exception. Okay. My restless heart finally dies. At this moment, the thought of divorce quietly germinated. That night, I called out my best friend. You want to divorce him? Megan opened her eyes wide in disbelief. Why? I took a sip of wine and mumbled vaguely. He's no good. Megan shook her head. No way. At first glance, he seems very capable. That nose. Those fingers. That look. Remembering the things I did to be intimate with him a few times before, my face burned even more. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I slammed the wine bottle on the table, without realizing that the place had become much quieter. I continued to speak freely. What's the use of a good-looking nose? What's the use of long fingers? It's all a lie. He's just no good. I want to be with him forever. But he's so bad. Neither long, nor lasting. Fraud. It's all fraud. Megan quickly came over to cover my mouth. But I spoke even more vigorously. What are you doing? What are you doing? William is just no good. Why can't I say it? At this moment, the whole place was deathly silent. Suddenly, a deepened magnetic voice rang out. I was stunned. Turning around, William was sitting behind me with a cold face. He was wearing a neat suit and was casually leaning on the sofa. His eyes deep. I instantly came to my senses and was mostly sober. Remembering that before I went out, he seemed to have said that he was going to talk about business today. William slowly got up. His straight long legs took 2 or 3 steps to reach me. Cherry? I pretended to be dead. Are you drunk? I continued to pretend to be dead. Your allowance for this month is halved. His tone was icy. I couldn't help it. I said oh. Oh, twice, oh. Dear husband. It's you. What a coincidence. William's lips curled up in a sneer. Forever? It's all fraud? Megan stood aside very awkwardly. At this moment, even a sophisticated and smooth-talking host would find it hard to end this situation. So I tilted my head and fell into William's arms pretending to be dizzy. A husband. I drank too much. My head is so dizzy. He reached out and held me in his arms. His eyes fell on my face. Somewhat complicated. Then let's go home. On the way, William didn't say a word. I fiddled with my fingers, thinking about how to explain. Which man would be happy to be called incapable by his wife in public? even if what I said was the truth. He had no reason to endure such humiliation. After weighing things up, I opened my mouth with difficulty. Well, I'm sorry. I drank too much tonight. He didn't respond. His distinct knuckled hand held the steering wheel and didn't give me a glance. Husband. I continued timidly. William finally spoke. If you're dizzy, take a rest. We'll be home soon. He changed the topic and obviously didn't want to talk. And indeed, I'm really a bit dizzy now. I drank 6 bottles of beer by myself tonight. I was also scared into a sweat in the bar just now. After being in the cold wind for a while, I became even more confused. So, I quietly closed my eyes. Later, I fell asleep. Vaguely. It seemed that someone was holding me. I struggled to get up and wanted to go to the bathroom to take a shower. I was stopped by a distinct knuckled hand. Don't move. I mumbled and slapped away the hand. I haven't removed my makeup and taken a shower yet. The owner of the hand paused and sighed softly after a long while. Then I felt myself being moved. That person washed my face, took off my clothes, gave me a bath, and finally put me on the bed. I was satisfied and fell into a deep sleep, just between half asleep and half awake. I heard a voice saying for me to wait. But wait for what? We've already got the marriage certificate. 3 When I woke up the next day, my head ached terribly. A message from mate popped up on my phone. MX, Cherry. Have you seen the news? MX, screenshot the new rich in Ming who can't last long with his new wife. The reason is actually, MX, screenshot the young talent in Ming who, secretly married but living in disharmony. Me, who spread my nonsense from last night. Will William be furious? While worrying, the butler's voice sounded at the door. Madam, someone is looking for you. Said to be the secretary of the young master. To handle some documents for you. What do you think? Coming. I replied and was about to get up and open the door. Looking down, I found that the clothes were not what I wore last night. The white men's dark gray shirt barely covered my buttocks. There was nothing on my lower body except for a strange pink underwear. But last night I was wearing a crop top and super short shorts. At this time, I vaguely remembered that I seemed to have had a dream last night. In the dream, William was as calm and aloof as ever, standing in front of me, and I was standing barefoot in the bathtub, pouring water on myself with a shower head. His jaw was tight. His eyes were darkened and clear. But his mouth was restrained. Cherry. Don't make trouble. I didn't listen to him. Instead, I got closer to him and wrapped around him, like a snake spirit. Husband, come on, come and have fun. Anyway, this is just a dream. Let's be bolder. Actually, I really want to sleep with you. Later, William pressed me into the water, grabbed my flailing hands, took off my clothes and gave me a bath. In a drowsy state, it seemed that he had also dried my hair. I always thought it was a dream, so I was flirtatious with him and even worked around him. Now it seems, this is not a dream. A blush spread across my face, and my ears were as red as if they were fully ripe. The shirt and pink underwear on my body suddenly became very hot. The belated sense of shame almost overwhelmed me. I don't know where else is suitable for me besides Earth. Before I could savor it carefully, I heard a clear female voice coming from downstairs. I had to quickly go downstairs. At 10 in the morning, a woman in light-colored professional attire spread the documents in front of me. Madame, this is the document that the chairman asked me to bring for you to sign. Please take a look. I was full of doubts. Equity transfer. House deed transfer. Storefront transfer. Jewelry gift. What is this? I was stunned. Secretary Fu pushed up her glasses. Does Madam have any questions about which clauses? I minored in law major, and can help answer. I waved my hand. No. I want to ask why he is giving me these. This posture doesn't seem like he wants to live a good life with me. Instead, it seems like he wants to divorce me. Is it because I said he was no good last night? Is he so vindictive? Secretary Fu said. The chairman didn't explain the reason. I was just ordered to give you these documents for you to sign. Otherwise, you can ask him yourself. I pursed my lips and didn't speak. Suddenly, a strange call interrupted the silence. I put down my pen and hesitantly picked it up. Hello? Hello? Who is this? There was no sound from the other side for a long time. After a while, a woman's voice floated into my ear through the radio waves. I am Mia Williams XV Inky. I was stunned. What? What? Yes. He had an engagement before. What do you want with me? William got married to you, right? Yes. There was a sneer from the other end of the phone. Cherry. He is just helping you out of kindness. If you are sensible, you better not accept anything from him. I found it inexplicable. How do you know? She continued to sneer. I know many things. But only this one is related to you. I frowned. My patience reaching its limit. If you are here to pick a fight, then don't call me again in the future. I don't know what happened. But now, his wife is me. After hanging up the phone, my mood became very low. Perhaps it is because I caught a glimpse of a corner of William's true nature. Perhaps it is because I am afraid of knowing that he has experienced things beyond my acceptance. In short, the previous charming mood is completely gone. Back to the living room. Looking at the documents spread out in front of me, I was somewhat hesitant. Maybe I should wait for him to come back before making a decision. Even if we are going to divorce, I need to know clearly. After thinking, I politely declined. Secretary Fu, can these documents be left here first? I haven't decided yet. She looked embarrassed. The chairman said that after you sign them, they need to be notarized. They get off work at 5:30. I was stunned. Why is it so urgent? Not wanting to embarrass others. So I smiled at her. It's okay. I'll tell him myself. You can go and be busy first. Secretary Fu's frown brows relaxed. Okay, Madame. Then I'll leave first. You can find me if you have any questions. This is my business card. There is my contact information on it. I took the business card she handed over and sent her out. After the person left, I immediately called William. He asked, "What's wrong?" The words I wanted to say stopped at my lips. I suddenly didn't want to tell him about Mia. Maybe this marriage can still be salvaged? So, I apologized to him for my thoughtless words last night and didn't mention Mia. He just said it was okay indifferently. After a moment of silence, I lowered my head and fiddled with the dark buttons on my shirt and asked him why he was giving me all these properties. Husband, do you want to divorce me? Although these 3 months have been a bit absurd, I don't think it's that serious. First, we haven't seen a doctor yet. What if it can be cured? Second, my parents are very satisfied with this marriage. Third, although William is very distant from me. In fact, he is like this with everyone. Before I went to his company to look for him, I found that he was even colder to the subordinates in the company. In comparison, he is better to me. And the monthly allowance is only more and not less. At the thought of divorce, I feel a bit empty in my heart. There was no sound from the other end for a while. After a while, there was a trace of panic in William's voice. There's no such thing. Don't think about it randomly. Wait for me to come back. Hearing his answer, my heart instantly returned to its place. So, he doesn't want to divorce me. Is that what it means? I couldn't help but curl up the corners of my mouth. Okay. Then I'll wait for you. In a short while, Mia called again. This time, she directly asked me to meet. In the coffee shop. She picked up the cup and took a graceful sip. You mean, William married me only because he was angry with you? Mia showed me all the things related to William before. She wanted to prove that she and William had been childhood sweethearts with deep feelings. Although I didn't see how much he liked her from that pile of group photos and videos, at least he liked her more than he liked me. We don't even have a single group photo except for our marriage certificate. Moreover, William's personality doesn't like being close to people. Maybe these group photos are his limit. I feel a bit uncomfortable. Mia raised her eyes slightly with a hint of arrogance. Yes. So those things are not yours. I admit that it was very excessive to leave everything in the country and go away. But I have never stopped loving him. Half a year ago, he misunderstood that I was with someone else and got married to you out of anger. He doesn't love you. As long as I sit down and have a good talk with him, sooner or later he will come back to me. So I hope you know your place and don't take things that don't belong to you. I frowned. Even if everything she said was true, even if I was really just a part of their game, she still has no right to bark at me. Yesterday on the phone, she was very rude to me. But where does she get the nerve? White moonlight? Childhood sweethearts? Unrequited love? What does it have to do with me? William and I are legally married couples with official stamps. As long as we are not divorced for a day, she has no right to boss me around. Mia flipped her hair and continued. You will get divorced sooner or later. And now you haven't even had a wedding. Just got a certificate. It shows that he doesn't care about you at all. You should at least have some self-awareness. I put down my teacup and started to fight back. Miss Xiao, I think there must be something wrong with you. Otherwise, how could you be so clueless? She was stunned, and her confident expression obviously cracked. I continued to speak. Did you install a GPS? Do you know your position? Are you a 1,000-year-old turtle living by the sea or a foot washing maid hiding under our bed? How can you know so clearly whether he loves me or not? I flipped my hair like she did and continued in an indifferent tone. Whether my husband buys me a big house or a big gold chain, it's all our private fun. You, an outsider, have been babbling here for a long time. What? Did you eat your family's rice? So bossy and commanding me? Did you take your medicine? What did the doctor say? Can it still be cured? Or maybe don't cure it. For someone like you, even if cured, you will still drool. Read more laws when you have time. Don't come out and make a fool of yourself. You, an outsider, are bossing me around. It's really ridiculous. After saying that, I left without waiting for her reaction, carrying my bag. 5 pedestrians are in a hurry on the road, either after work or after school. Everyone has a relaxed smile on their faces. Only me. I met a boring person, heard a boring story, and said a boring rant. It's extremely boring. Thinking of the plot in the novel, where the male lead gets married to a cannon fodder out of anger because the female lead goes abroad. As soon as the female lead returns home, the male lead coldly treats the cannon fodder. Even if I am stubborn and don't admit it no matter what. When I think calmly, it's really similar to my current situation. So, William and I will eventually get divorced, right? I seem to not know where to go. Go home? I don't want to face him now. Go back to my parents? I am the worst at pretending. My emotions are all written on my face. If I cry, they will worry about me. Or go find my best friend. 5 minutes later, I am waiting for a car by the roadside. A supercar stops beside me. Cherry. The car owner rolls down the window. Chewing gum. He holds the steering wheel with one hand and rests his other hand on the window. He is wearing a thick gold chain around his neck. And his hair is dyed yellow. He looks at me with a smirk. Charles. He chased me hard in college. After being rejected by me, he pestered me, relying on his family's wealth. He is arrogant. My family's business has some intersections with his family, so it's not good to tear faces. It took me for years to get rid of his harassment. After graduation, I deleted all his contact information and avoided him. I didn't expect to meet him here. I frowned and took 2 steps away to distance myself from him. He chuckled and got out of the car and walked towards me instead. Don't be like this. We were classmates at least. I frowned. But I'm not familiar with you. Don't get too close. He smiled faintly. How can we not be familiar? We almost got married. This made me confused. What are you talking about? When Charles saw that he had caught my attention, he began to push his luck. He put his hand on the wall behind me. Let's find a place to sit down and talk in detail. The posture is ambiguous and clingy, I said disgustedly. Forget it if you don't say it. Just at this moment, a car came, so I got in. Charles barked from behind. Why call a car? I can also give you a ride. I ignored him, but he immediately drove and followed me. 6 at 11 o'clock at night. In the bar. Why is Charles here too? After drinking a bottle of wine, the mood disturbed by the wind calmed down a little. Charles walked towards us casually, dangling his car keys. Megan glanced at me and said, You wouldn't. My eyes were somewhat unfocused. But I immediately shook my head. Of course not. We just ran into each other on the road. Charles came closer and sat in front of me familiarly. Megan spoke first. Charles, why are you still haunting us like this? Our Cherry is already married. Give up. He poured himself a glass of wine with a grin. I know. But even if you're married, you can still get divorced. I'm serious about Cherry. Then he looked at me, his dissolute eyes full of attentiveness. Cherry, after you get divorced, will you consider me? I flatly refused. No. Charles wouldn't give up. I'm not bad either. You have a prejudice against me. And isn't your husband not good? In that case. Just as he was speaking, a cold voice interrupted the conversation. Who's not good? We all looked up. William was standing at the door in a windbreaker. There was a trace of anger in his cold eyebrows. He just stood there, his gaze passing through the crowd and falling on me. Charles. William walked towards us, his eyes cold. He glanced down at me and then shifted his gaze to Charles. Did I tell you not to harass my people? I looked at William. My gaze complicated. He had an aloof appearance and always looked like a polite upper-class person. But at this moment, his eyes were filled with gloom, like a wild wolf about to erupt at any time. Charles swallowed and argued with a stiff neck. Mr. Chu. I'm just catching up with an old classmate. There's no need to be so tense. He chuckled. Oh? Then why did I hear someone instigating my wife to cheat? Charles's eyes swept towards me. They met my disdainful look. Suddenly, as if his pride was hurt, he said stubbornly, William, you stole love by force back then. And now aren't you still leaving her alone? Where do you get the nerve to question me? You might as well let go as soon as possible. Cherry is just in her early 20s. She shouldn't be reduced to living like a widow. These words were sharp and sarcastic. Last time in the bar, when I said William was no good, it had already spread in the circle. Although I apologized. Although the hot search was removed long ago. And although he also forgave me, the impact seemed to be even longer than I thought. William was extremely tall and already had an ice-cold face. Plus, he was wearing all black today. There was an air of fierceness around him, making him look even colder and more ruffian. Suddenly, a sneer curved his mouth. This was the first time I had seen him like this. Usually, although he was polite and distant to me, at least he seemed like someone who could reason. Unlike now, his eyes were so cold that they could kill. I saw him reach out and knock Charles to the ground with one punch. The wine bottle on the table fell because of this big movement and shattered with a clang. The bar instantly fell silent. He still stood there coldly, without even changing his posture, looking down at the person on the ground. His tone was icy. Is being her husband a good enough reason? Charles muttered curses. You son of a bitch. He tried to stand up from the ground. William lifted his long leg and directly stepped on his face. Charles. I'll say it again. Stay away from my wife. Otherwise, I'll smash your face. Understand? The people around were already frightened and silly. The bar owner heard the commotion and hurried out to mediate. Soon, The crowd dispersed. William's eyebrows relaxed a little. And his tone became milder. Cherry. Let's go home. I didn't want to face him and held on to Megan. No. I want to drink. Megan quickly broke free and pushed me to William. Mr. Chu. She's drunk. Please be patient with her. I looked at Megan in disbelief. A long time later. Every time I took this incident out to scold her for being unloyal, she would firmly say, I could tell at that time that William really loves you. Well, this is all for later. 7 in the car. I pressed my lips tightly together and didn't want to say a word. One reason was that I was a little dizzy and uncomfortable from drinking too much. The other reason was because of some indescribable emotions. I couldn't tell. I always felt that he was hiding too many things from me. William glanced at me from time to time. No one spoke along the way. When we arrived at the underground parking garage, he finally couldn't hold back and spoke again. Cherry. Can you next time? No. I interrupted him. At this moment, I found him very annoying. I didn't want to communicate with him. Since we got married, he had been lukewarm towards me. I tried hard to maintain our relationship. I put my warm face forward and took the initiative to get close to him, wanting to be intimate with him. But what about him? I didn't know his past, nor his attitude. Now there was also a Mia who was bossing me around. Sometimes I also wanted to sit down and talk with him. But his businesslike attitude made me feel that there was no way to start. This marriage was like going to work. There was only formality and no real communication. He was unhappy. I was unhappy too. Thinking like this, I got out of the car righteously. After taking a few steps, a force pulled me back. William held me in his arms. His voice low. Cherry. Don't be angry with me. I was indeed a little out of control tonight. It won't happen again next time. Did he think I was angry because he was rough with Charles? Before I could explain, he continued. I have neglected you during this period. I'm sorry. Be good. Don't be in a temper. Okay? Cold wind blew into the underground garage. I shivered. Just now. In addition to beer, I also drank some mixed drinks. The reaction is coming up now. I have a severe headache. And seeing that I didn't speak, William thought I was still angry. The hand holding me gradually began to tighten. He continued to beg for mercy. Cherry. Don't ignore me. I didn't have time to be angry. I struggled to squeeze out a sentence from his tight embrace. William. I have a headache. After saying that, I fell into his arms and passed out. He was stunned. After a while, he chuckled softly, as if helpless. In a trance, he still took off my clothes, carried me into the bathtub, and helped me take a bath. But this time, fearing that I would do something shocking again, I remained a little awake and let him do whatever he wanted obediently. Soon, I felt myself in a soft embrace. The man kissed my forehead and then left. Waking up in the middle of the night. My mouth is a bit dry. I got up in the dark to drink water. A deep male voice rang out. Awake? My movements stopped. In an instant, the light came on. I saw William sitting by the bed, his beautiful eyes staring at me intently. In the increasingly tense air, we looked at each other quietly. He seemed to have something to say to me, but I was so thirsty that I wasn't in the mood. So I broke the silence. Well, my mouth is a bit thirsty. I want to drink water. He came to his senses and got up gently and said, I'll pour it for you. In the next second, he turned around and paused. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something else? My head was a bit muddled, and I nodded. Then he went downstairs. I sat on the bed and my thoughts gradually came back. What is he doing? Suddenly having a chemical reaction to me and getting enlightened? I looked down. My clothes had been changed into cartoon pajamas. And even my underwear had been changed. The size was suitable. It should be that after I got drunk last time. He was prepared. I felt inexplicably warmed. William has such a side. What a pity. There are too many problems between us. So I complained to Megan. William helped me take a bath when I came back tonight. It's another wet body play. But he still remained unmoved. Look. Which man can resist the temptation of his wife's wet body? He just can't get it up. Perhaps he really isn't long or lasting. But it's also possible that he is keeping himself chaste for Mia. Sister. Do you think I should get a divorce? After sending the message, William came up with a cup of warm water. Drink first. The housekeeper has gone to sleep. I'll go downstairs and cook some porridge for you. Saying that, he got up and left again. But this time, he took away his mobile phone from the bedside. I thought being a boss is really tiring. You still have to check messages in the middle of the night. 9 unexpectedly. A minute later, William came back. The expression on his handsome face was terrifyingly gloomy. Cherry. I didn't know why and looked up at him. We looked at each other silently for 30 seconds. Suddenly he chuckled. Wet body play. I was stunned. What? He continued. Not long or lasting. Want to divorce me? These words are so familiar. In a flash, I picked up my phone and looked. Oh my God. I sent the message to the wrong person. That traitor Megan changed to a black avatar similar to William's. I mistook it and sent the message to William himself. Looking at a long string of complaints on the screen, I was so embarrassed that I wanted to dig a hole and die immediately. Is there anyone more socially dead than me? William's tone was teasing. Cherry. Don't you want to say something? I lowered my head and pretended to be dead. After a while, a pair of men's slippers appeared in my sight. I sighed in my heart. Forget it. We have to lay our cards on the table sooner or later. So I looked up at him, but I'm not wrong. You really can't. Besides, you don't seem to like me either. I've heard that you had a fiancée before named Mia. She even called and told me not to accept the things you gave me. In the 3 months since we got married, we haven't really slept together. I think if you're not impotent, then you are keeping yourself chaste for her. Seriously. I quite admire your being so affectionate. William, let's get a divorce. This way we'll both be better off. After saying that, I felt much relieved. Look, how considerate and understanding I am. Obviously it's his problem. But it's me who has to be the bad guy. Now I just hope he can keep business and personal matters separate and not affect the business on my parents' side. After a while, William curved his lips and sneered. He impatiently reached out and tore off his tie. After unbuttoning the top 2 buttons, he grabbed the hem of his sleeve with his backhand and lifted it up, casually throwing his shirt aside. I was a bit nervous and swallowed. What? What are you doing? His eyes were terrifying and his tone was slow and ambiguous. Didn't you say that I don't like you and that I can't? Then let's verify it. Whether I like you or not. And whether I am long or lasting. I was puzzled. Huh? Now? Before I could react, his face rapidly enlarged in front of me. I struggled and said, but we're still arguing. He tore off my pajamas, tied the gift box ribbon by the bedside around my hands and knotted it, raising it above my head. There was a layer of gloom in the eyes, and the voice was low and hoarse. Stop arguing. I want to kiss you. At 2 o'clock in the morning. William held my waist. His eyes were blurred, and he was panting slightly. Cherry. Is it comfortable? Is your husband long and lasting? My voice had long been hoarse. At this moment, I was so dazed by the impact that I didn't answer. So William put his arm around my back, sat me on his lap, and kissed me tirelessly. Then he gently bit my earlobe and penetrated me on the bed that was gradually heating up and dripping with sweat. I cried. I could only beg for mercy. Woo woo woo. Husband. I'm wrong. You are extremely long and lasting. His breathing was rapid and pleasant, stimulating my nerves one after another. Cherry. I love you very much. I really love you very much. Finally, when I was in a daze, he gently wiped the sweat off my face and murmured, I originally wanted to wait until after the wedding. I was still too impatient. 10. The next day. I didn't wake up until afternoon. This dog William has bitten me all over, leaving red marks everywhere. The butler came up and said that Secretary Fu had brought a group of people waiting for me downstairs. So in this hot weather, under his strange gaze, I went downstairs wearing long pants and long sleeves. Secretary Fu spread a pile of materials in front of me and introduced with a smile, "Madam, these are the people the chairman asked me to invite. Mainly to take measurements and discuss the wedding details by the way. Please take a look." I was somewhat puzzled. I sent a message to William and asked him why he suddenly wanted to hold a wedding. He replied quickly, "I was too busy some time ago and didn't hold it. In fact, I've wanted to announce it to the world for a long time. Does your leg still hurt? If it still hurts, when I go home tonight, your husband will rub it for you." His words evoked our memories of last night. Crazy and indulgent. So I blushed and told him to shut up. I was hit by a sudden sense of happiness and felt a little elated. I was immersed in the business ends of discussing the wedding all day. I completely didn't realize that the outside world had already changed. When I sent everyone away and opened my phone again, countless messages popped up and filled my phone. The new noble of Ming, who abandons his old love. But the new love is flirtatious. The new bride of the Shu family snatches love by force and has to timed after marriage. William broke off his engagement for his new love. But who knew the new love is a playboy playgirl? Among them were also several video clips. One was of me standing with Charles in college, looking close in manner, and in the bar a few days ago. Charles sitting next to me drinking and chatting with me. One was of me being carried home drunk by William and hugging in the underground parking lot. There was also a very long video that recorded all the family gatherings and group photos of William and Mia from childhood to adulthood. There was also Mia's recorded mental journey. The titles were mixed with the content, and many comments were scolding me as a shameless gold digger from a wealthy family. I'm dizzy. This person is so shameless. She broke up a childhood sweetheart couple and still dares to shout at others. The little childhood sweetheart is so beautiful. This original partner is so vicious. How on earth did she rise to power? So disgusting. After breaking up others, she still cheats outside. I heard that she has been stringing people along since college. Probably a female playboy playgirl. The embarrassing words drilled into my eyes line by line, stinging my heart. My hands and feet were ice cold. And I was completely stunned. I had an illusion of being stripped naked and tortured. Although it's not the truth. Judging from the current development, the truth is no longer important. This is an online carnival. And I am the target of public criticism. Megan called me countless times and sent countless messages, asking where I am and if I need to call the police. Before I had time to look at them, Mia called again. Her voice was no longer as calm as last time. Instead, there was a trace of impatience. "Cherry, didn't you say you would withdraw? Why are you having a wedding? Didn't I make myself clear enough? All this was never yours. William doesn't love you. He's just angry with me." I was still wondering why I was being slandered, even though I was so well behaved. Now I understand. It's Mia. She wants to use public opinion to force me to divorce. Immediately, a nameless anger rose in my heart. Even though I was hurt by these words, I would never show any weakness in front of the enemy. So I suppressed the soreness in my heart and directly retorted, "Mia, are you very idle? Are you sick of always talking about love? Why did William break off his engagement with you and marry me? Is it possible because I am a normal person? You, a legal illiterate, don't think the internet has no memory. Do you? What position do you have to shout at me? And what position do you have to slander me? Which mental hospital is on holiday and let you out? Wait for the lawsuit. Idiot." After venting, I directly blacklisted her. The next second, William's call also came in. I was still not relieved after scolding Mia just now, and didn't want to answer him at all. So I blacklisted him too and went to find my best friend. 11. Other people's marriages are all sweet. I, on the other hand, am harassed by crazy women every now and then. After 2 bottles of wine, I was on the verge of tears. Originally, I just wanted to live my own small life quietly. I didn't expect that now the whole world is scolding me. I will definitely find a lawyer to sue her. But since she and William are childhood sweethearts, William will probably not be on my side. After all, we've only been together for a few months. Last night's sleep was just because I provoked him, but he and Mia might have kissed so much that their lips are almost worn out. If I sue at that time, it might cause chaos at home. Just thinking about this makes me annoyed. I swallowed my tears forcefully and said angrily with a stiff neck, "Divorce. Divorce tomorrow. Who wants a divorce?" A deep and magnetic voice rang out. I turned my head and saw William standing behind me in a suit and black pants. He still had a proper coat draped over his arm. His eyes were solemn and cold, and there was a pair of gold-rimmed glasses hanging on the bridge of his nose. I once heard Secretary Fu tell me that William would never wear glasses on ordinary days except when in meetings. It seems that he just came out of the conference room. There is a hint of exhaustion between his eyebrows. Now William is a bit different from before. He looks abstinent and aloof, like a refined scoundrel. Because he is distinctive in himself. And with this outfit, he immediately attracts many gazes. Many people take out their phones and secretly record videos. But he ignores them and comes to me. "Cherry. You blocked me. I almost couldn't find you. Oh. I will deal with today's matter. You come home with me first." "No. Darling. I apologize. Don't be angry anymore. Okay? No. I was cyber-bullied for no reason. How could I be okay?" William saw that people around were starting to chuckle and he wasn't annoyed. He squatted beside me and said in a gentle tone, "Be good. Darling. Your husband will support you in everything. Let's go home first." Megan pulled my sleeve and gave me a look. After being friends for so many years, of course I know what she is thinking. She is saying, "That's enough. Give him a chance." I kept a straight face. "William, let's get a divorce." The whole place was silent. Megan was also shocked. They didn't understand. I was really angry. It's not them who were cyber-bullied. William's expression remained unchanged, but his eyes were filled with gloom. He stood up and directly picked me up from the seat. "Sorry everyone. My wife is drunk. Excuse me. I'll take her home." I kicked my legs and wanted to get down. "William. You bastard. Put me down." He didn't move at all, and said in a menacing tone in my ear, "Don't move." I didn't listen. He continued, "If you move again, I'll kiss you here." I looked around. Many people were still holding up their phones, so I had to huddle obediently in his arms. 12 when we arrived. I didn't want to get out of the car. I held on tightly to the seat belt in the passenger seat and wouldn't let go. William was helpless. "Cherry. I have something to tell you. Get out of the car first." "No. I said we're getting divorced. I don't want to listen to you." He coaxed. "Why? Are you still dissatisfied with me in some way? Didn't we already? Last night." "Shut up." I yelled at him. After a silent confrontation for a while, he suddenly smiled apologetically and said in a gentle tone, "I will definitely give you an explanation for today's matter. Darling. Let's go home. Okay?" After a while, I let go. My nose was sour. Ungrateful tears filled my eyes. But I'm really wronged. William unbuckled my seatbelt and carried me home. As soon as we entered the house, Secretary Fu was already waiting. "Boss. The Public Relations Department has dealt with today's matter. The announcement will be released on time at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. In addition, we have also found the source of the revelations. Although they come from different IPs, they are instigated by the same person. I guess it should be Miss Mia who came to the company to find you before. Do you want a private settlement or?" William's tone was cold. Have the legal department handle it. Be sure to compile enough evidence for litigation. It doesn't matter about compensation. But she must publicly apologize, and it must be on the headlines of major websites for 7 days and 7 nights without being removed. In addition, find all the contracts with the Xiao family over the years. I want to completely terminate cooperation. Yes. I'll go back and do my work first. My mood improved a bit. Not angry anymore? William had a smile in his eyes and looked at me. I stuck my neck out and was stubborn. Not yet. There's still a little bit. What little bit? You haven't told me about Mia. Such an important person. At the very least. You should explain to me. But she's not important. Isn't she your ex-fiancée? No. That was arranged by Grandpa. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't speak any more and stared at him directly. William spread my legs and pressed me on his lap. Face to face with him. Mia was a child bride arranged by Grandpa. I don't like her. But Grandpa is very important to me. He pointed Mia out to me and asked me to take care of her. I didn't want to make him sad. So I did as he said. Everyone thought I had it. She also confessed to me. But I privately refused and made it clear to her. There has never been any impropriety between us. Cherry. You are the only one I have liked from the beginning to the end. I was confused. But we didn't know each other before. 13 William took my hand and kissed it close to his mouth. We did know each other. That year you were 3 years old and I was 5. We lived in the same compound. My family is very strict with me. They don't allow me to eat snacks. Everything is calculated meticulously. Even if my parents give me an extra piece of meat, they want me to repay them later. They always say they love me very much and also say that everything I have is given by them. I was only 5 years old, but I had already seen the transactions and returns of businessmen early on. My childhood was always very unhappy. For a long time, I thought that returning was love. Once upon a time, I wanted to eat candy. But my parents wouldn't give me any and asked me to get the first place in the exam before they would give me candy. I sat in the yard and cried. Mia came over. She put the candy in my palm and said to me, William, if you eat my candy, you have to marry me as your wife in the future. You can only be good to me. Do you know? I was very familiar with such words. Although I was reluctant, I couldn't refute her. So I was just about to nod. At that time, you came out. You walked up to her with your short legs and said in a childish voice, so shameless. It's just a piece of candy. My parents said that eating candy is for happiness. And getting a wife is also for happiness. How can they be exchanged? Then your little hand reached out in front of me. Brother, don't take her candy. She will ask for it back from you later. Take my candy. I don't want you to ask for it back. I just hope it really makes you happy. At this point, William's eyes became even more tender. From that moment on, you lived in my heart. I was stunned. It seemed that there really was such an incident in my memory. My parents have always spoiled me since I was young. I like eating candy. And they won't stop me. They will also take me to see a doctor regularly. They said that my happiness is the most important thing and hope that I can have a carefree childhood. At that time, there were many children in the compound. And many of them liked me. So I soon forgot about him. I covered my mouth in surprise and said, but I was only 3 years old at that time. And you were only 5. William, you are so abnormal. You fell in love early at the age of 5. William's mouth curved. And his cold eyes were filled with tenderness. Yes. What can I do? I liked you so early. Otherwise, could you like me a little bit reluctantly? Okay? At this point, I was completely not angry anymore. But my mouth was still stubborn. How do I know if you are just trying to make me happy? William kissed me affectionately. Of course not. I began to think about the boundary between return and love and began to distinguish you from others. I still depended on the Zhu family at that time. So, after moving, I didn't dare to appear in front of you. But I have been watching you silently since you were young. I know there is a boy named Charles who pursues you the most intensely. And you also refuse him the most resolutely. Later, something happened to your family. At an accidental dinner, someone mentioned Charles. That person said that Charles wanted to use your marriage to make a deal with your father. He said he wanted to taste what you were really like. At this point, a hint of darkness flashed in William's eyes. I was anxious. I could only get the marriage certificate with you in a hurry. I wanted to make up for other things to you later. I originally wanted to share a room with you after the wedding. But I couldn't hold back. Today, because of Mia and Charles, you were scolded by netizens. Wife. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Forgive me. Okay? Hearing this, I was completely shocked. In the time I didn't know. He had loved me for so long. I hugged his face and kissed him hard. A smile rose on the corner of my mouth. Fool. I told you when I was 3 years old. Just be happy in everything. Even if you have nothing. I will still love you. Love has nothing to do with conditions. Why did you hide for so long before letting me see you? We missed so many years in vain. My response excited William very much. His hand began to be restless. With a light pull, he took off the small skirt that I was lying on his lap. Then it's not too late to start making up for its lowly now. Wife. I promise to be gentle tonight. Okay? I kissed his lips with a smile. Outside, the night was deep. Inside, spring was just beginning. How can I put it? After getting married, I found out that my husband's white moonlight is myself. And he has loved me silently for so many years. I always thought this kind of thing was very exaggerated. But it really happened. Don't mention it. So sweet. 14. The wedding is scheduled in half a month. During this period, Mia has been trying to contact me, saying that the company at home is almost bankrupt by William. She begged me for mercy and hoped that I could ask William to stop and withdraw the lawsuit. I threw the problem to William. He said don't pay attention to it. This is the lesson she deserves. I think so too. When she cyber-bullied me, she didn't show any mercy at all. So I blocked her. I thought this matter was over. Unexpectedly, she invited William's mother out. That day, I was hesitating between 2 kinds of wedding cakes in the store when Mom Jo contacted me. Cherry. I am your mother-in-law. At the other end of the phone, the woman's voice was gentle. I replied, yes. Mom. What's wrong? After much hesitation, she said that Mia had come to her. Momshu's voice was filled with a trace of distress. What happened to Mia is her own fault. But she is not having a good time now. The Xiao family is almost bankrupt by William and is in a hurry to send her to the Li family for help. The person from the Li family is almost 70 years old. What a sin. Cherry. The Xiao family is innocent. And Mia really knows she is wrong. She wants to apologize to you in person. Otherwise, could you see her? And by the way, persuade William to stop here. Okay? Momshu's voice carried a trace of pleading. It can be seen that she is really trying hard to intercede for Mia. Yes. The Xiao family and William have been doing business together for so many years, which shows that both sides are of good character. How could there be no friendship at all? On the other hand, Mia has revealed the truth publicly and pinned her apology statement to me on top. Now the whole network is scolding her. Plus, William and I have just got married. We can't make enemies with his mother. After consideration, I said, okay, Mom, send me the address. I'll meet her. Before hanging up, she urged me not to tell William, for fear of arousing his antipathy. I agreed. 15. I thought Mia had really reformed. At least in the first half of our meeting, she was constantly in tears, performing deep remorse. Cherry. I'm sorry. I was ridiculously wrong. I overestimated my position in William's heart and underestimated your importance to him. I thought you had only known each other for half a year and wouldn't have deep feelings. I didn't expect that he would suppress our family for you and even go to all lengths to bring down the Xiao family. Can you persuade William? I will compensate you for all your losses. Help me beg him to be magnanimous. Okay? Mia didn't wear makeup today. There was no flamboyant red lip and curly hair. And no arrogant eyes. Perhaps really troubled by things recently. She looked very haggard. I remembered what Mamashu said to me, and thought of William's early departures and late returns recently. He is busy with company affairs and lawsuit affairs. And has no time to accompany me to prepare for the wedding. After much thought, I said, I can only persuade him. Whether he listens or not is not up to me. Mia's eyes showed surprise. That's enough. Thank you. Then, she picked up the cup in front of her. I apologize to you. I'm sorry. After saying that, she drank it all in one gulp. I thought for a while and also picked up the cup in front of me. Unexpectedly, after drinking a cup, my vision began to blur. Soon, I lost consciousness. 16 when I woke up again. I was lying in bed with a man. The man had dyed yellow hair and wore a big gold chain around his neck. I was a little desperate. It turned out that Mia had never intended to let me go from the beginning to the end. She wanted to confirm my extramarital affair with Charles. Maybe now she has put me on the hot search again. Charles also woke up. He suddenly jumped up from the bed. His eyes full of panic. Sorry. Nothing happened between us. Right? He randomly pulled the quilt to cover himself. His voice with a crying tone. I felt for a while and said calmly. No. We just slept in the same bed. Nothing happened. Charles slightly relaxed. That's good. William is a lunatic. For you. He might even be capable of killing. This is not the time to talk about this. I asked him what was going on. He blinked. Confused. I was drinking in a bar last night. Suddenly a woman came over and asked me if I was lonely. I thought she looked a bit like you. I closed my eyes in despair. Mia. You are doomed. I reached for my phone for a long time but didn't find it. Charles didn't have it with him either. So we picked up our clothes from the ground and put them on and wanted to go out to find our phones. But as soon as we opened the door, William was standing at the door, breathing slightly. 17 William had been looking for me all night, but there was no sign of me. But he saw the fresh and hot photos of me and Charles hugging each other on the hot search. Then, following the decorations in the photo, he found this hotel. His eyes were red and he hugged me tightly. I was so worried about you. I hugged him back and asked him, don't you doubt me? There was a tremor in William's voice. I don't care. I was stunned. A mist rose in my eyes. So I raised my head from his arms and kissed him heavily. Honey. Charles followed behind me, shrinking his neck. Young Master Zhu. This has nothing to do with me. Nothing happened between us. William's face was cold and he punched him hard in the face. I said, stay away from my wife. Or I'll smash your face. Charles groaned and fell to the ground. Not long after going to the police station, Mia was caught. William said to the lawyer with hatred, make sure she spends the rest of her life in prison. The lawyer nodded in agreement. I don't understand why Mia did this. For her. Even if I was with Charles, she and William wouldn't have a chance. There was madness flashing in Mia's eyes. If there is an immoral daughter-in-law in a big family like the Zhu family, the stock will definitely be affected. Why can the Zhu family still live while our family goes bankrupt? I want you to be buried with us. I tell you, William, your wife is a slut. I not only have photos but also videos. She will be nailed to the pillar of shame all her life. Even if I die, I will drag you down. Let's go to hell together. I was shocked. William looked at Mia. His fist clenched tightly, looking like he wanted to kill someone. I quietly pulled his sleeve. Husband. She is lying. William turned around and hugged me, looking distressed. I don't care. Cherry. Husband doesn't care. If the Zhu family cares, then I don't even want that family anymore. Wife. Believe me. Husband will always love you. I was helpless. He seemed to be trapped in a strange cuckold fetish. A teen on the day Mia was sentenced. The hacker I found just cracked her account. Fortunately, she pursues fashion trends and always uses an iPhone. So I easily found the so-called photos and videos in her phone backup. In fact, they are just some posed shots. William's face was as black as if it could drip water. See, I said there was nothing. All have been deleted. Now can you trust me? I sat on his lap and swayed because my feet didn't touch the ground. Actually, I really don't mind this kind of thing. Whose body isn't like this? Even if it really happens, I won't take it to heart. Don't worry. I'm in a very good state of mind. And I think she took a very beautiful picture of me. What do you think, hubby? William was once again impressed by my train of thought. His originally gloomy eyebrows and eyes relaxed. His hand reached into my skirt. And his tone was ambiguous. I think so too. Wife. You are beautiful all the time. But, do you know when you are the most beautiful? I was kissed until I was in a daze. When is it? He curved his lips and smiled. And whispered in my ear, when you are not wearing clothes. 19 William made the marriage certificate into an invitation and sent it out. I looked at him speechless lie. And he looked at the invitation and smiled happily. Wife. You are so beautiful. William is a bit childish. I was helpless. You don't like so many invitation styles? Marriage certificate? Is this beautiful? The corners of his lips curved up. And he pulled me into his arms and kissed me again and again. Beautiful. In my eyes. Nothing is more beautiful than a marriage certificate. Wife. I will never get divorced in my life. Otherwise, let me die of embarrassment. On the wedding day. Simple and grand. For the first time, I saw William cry. He read the vows on the paper. Cherry. Thank you for appearing in my 5 years old. Thank you for illuminating my barren life and making a deviation from my originally set boring track. Wife? In the future I will always be loyal to you. I smiled and reached out my hand to him. Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too.